Hey everyone, Josh Neighbors here, Locked on Big 12 podcast. It is the 13th of November, 2022, and on today's show, a full slate of Big 12 action to get to. TCU books their ticket to the Big 12 championship game with a statement win over Texas. Kansas State throttles Baylor on the road. OU goes down to West Virginia. The Mountaineers finally clear the Sooners. Spencer Sanders, he's back, comes in to help Oklahoma State rally in their game over Iowa State. And also Texas Tech back on track against Kansas. All that and more coming up on today's show.
You are Locked on Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Big 12 podcast. I am your host, Josh Neighbors. Thank you guys for making us a part of your day. Make sure you subscribe. You can do that here on YouTube. Tap that bell for notifications. We're approaching 2,600, so please subscribe and help us get over the top. We are brought to you today by LinkedIn, best place to find the most qualified people for your job. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _. So the story of the day yesterday in college football really was the Pac-12 and the madness we saw there. Washington beats Oregon, and then Arizona stuns UCLA. Really the only option for them left to make the playoff becomes USC. But elsewhere, we saw a lot of ticket booking in terms of going to the championship games. In the Southeastern Conference, we know that Georgia will be playing LSU in their championship game. Ohio State and obviously Michigan still have some deciding to do there. And also the Big Ten West is kind of a mess right now. But in the ACC, we know it is going to be Clemson. We know it is going to be North Carolina. So there is some ticket booking happening there. In the Big 12, one ticket is now booked. TCU last night with an un-TCU 2022 performance beats Texas 17-10 in Austin, and TCU just made another one of those statements where it was just about the ability to win in multiple ways, right? This was an ugly, dirty, nasty game from the start. If you watch that first half, you could tell, oh my God, it was going to be tough sledding. I mean, you saw the way TCU was getting just harassed the line of scrimmage. Excellent job. Pete Kwiatkowski and the job that the Texas defense did last night was tremendous against an offense that hit some explosive plays generally, and they hit a couple in this game, but they were up to the challenge. I think really the other side, though, Joe Gillespie and the TCU defense, even without D. Winters in that first half, they held Texas overall to under 200 yards, 199 yards. Texas was 1 for 13 on third down. They were 1 for 4 on fourth down. And, a game also where they were penalized more as well. And they only ran the ball 1.3 yards per carry. TCU was fast. They were athletic. I thought they were great in coverage. Quinn Ewers clearly was chasing some ghosts out there. 17 for 39 for 171 and an interception. TCU was flying around on defense. They were hitting hard. And, I thought early in the game, they got that first fourth down stop on Bijan Robinson. It was not going to be a case of, what's coming and you just can't stop it. TCU, in a very different way than most Big 12 teams, athletically is set up to stop some teams like Texas. Not saying it's gonna cross all the way over when they play an Ohio State or a Michigan or a Georgia in that case, but on defense, it's not like I feel like they're ever outclassed. If you saw the way some of those corners were playing last night, guys, they were attached to the hip a lot of the time on Xavier Worthy. And sure, a few times he got free and guys got free, but Ewers did not make the throw, did not put them on target. And TCU has got the ability to make people uncomfortable, to make teams uncomfortable on defense. It's a defense that for most of the year has needed to take a lot of time to really get into the flow of things, right? To really, get themselves going. It's always taken them some time. That was not the case in this game. They were really motivated. You could tell not to have another slow start on that side of the football. And luckily for them, they did, because the offense did. And the offense, I'm not even sure you could say this was a slow start for TCU's offense. Texas's defensive front, I mean, they were bringing pressure from all over the place. They were in Max Duggan's kitchen, especially in that first half. 5 sacks, and I'm not sure if all of them did, but I think at least 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them came in that first half. They were harassing Max Duggan, and it still looks to me like Max Duggan is not, I mean, maybe he was just because he was not as fast as the guys in the field. It still looks like to me that Max Duggan is still not 100%. We mentioned that he had that calf injury that he suffered a couple weeks back in the West Virginia game, right? And so is he full strength in there? Not 100% sure, but he's still in the neighborhood, and they did a great job making him uncomfortable. Second half, though, TCU scores 17 points. Like, if you told me that happened, I'd probably tell you Texas won the game, right? I probably would tell you that was that's how this thing went down, but it was not. And TCU's offense eventually hit some explosive plays in the second half. That Kendre Miller 75-yard run. I mentioned athletes a second ago, but he is a guy who athletically, looked like he belonged in the field with the freaks that were on the other side. Quentin Johnston just found his way through the defense, and he was able to make some big catches in this game. Not a ton, 3 for 66 and a touchdown, but that 30-yard touchdown in the game was the separator. And look, this thing got tight towards the end. Max Duggan drops that ball. They scoop it and score it. They go the other way, which I thought was, okay, this thing's tightening up just a little bit here. But in the end, Jaden Barnes, by the way, was the one who took that back to the house. TCU was able to move the clock, get a first down, control that line, at least towards the back part of the game, and able to ice this thing. And so Sonny Dykes' group, we talk about, like, it's all about staying undefeated for them. It's all about, trying to go to the college football playoff. And I think that we're understating, these other important inflection points. Things like booking a ticket to a conference title game. TCU is going to go play in the Big 12 championship game now in year 1 under Sonny Dykes. That just shows you, what a great job he's done this year. And even if they lose, even if they lose the last 2 games, it'd be a massive disappointment for sure. But the fact that they're going to, they were a 10-win team. They're going to have double, if they lose out the rest of the way, if they lose the 2 regular season games and they lose their conference championship game and they lose their bowl game, they're still a 10-win football team, which is a huge accomplishment, especially considering how difficult this league is. I kind of revisit TCU's resume every single week, but let's just do it one more time. At SMU, Oklahoma, number 18 Oklahoma, at number 19 Kansas, home against number 8 Oklahoma State. That was good, Oklahoma State. That team was actually a top 20 team. Kansas State, at West Virginia, Texas Tech, at number 18 Texas, who was a 7.5-point favorite. By the way, another great week for your boy, 4-1, starting to figure out the league a little bit. I said on Friday, I was actually on I was working Big 12 today, like normal, and I said I wouldn't be shocked if TCU would win this game by 2 scores, and they should have. But the way that it happened was just completely surprising. But once again, it revisits the point I made to start things off. Great teams find different ways to win, by hook, by crook, by skill, by run, by pass, by land, by sea. I don't care. TCU figures out a way to get the job done once again in this game against a Texas team that was coming off what I thought was the best win of the Steve Sarkisian era, because where it put them at this point in the season, how their offense looked, how their best player looked, and I mean, the fact that Bijan Robinson got shut down the way he did tonight speaks to the coaching effort, speaks to the preparation, and the way TCU has come out determined not to play in a way that they had previously. That shows growth, development, whatever you want to call it, en route to getting another win. I once again, I'll double check this again. It's ranked win number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the year for them. At Baylor's a tough game left remaining. At home for Iowa State too. Can't look past them because of how good the defense is. But TCU, you gotta like the spot that TCU is in right now. Kansas, for Texas, we'll talk about them later on. This day belongs to TCU. Texas just not all the way there. Like, it's just not. They're trying. They are trying to get there. Ewers was, talk about like a rough night. there's a lot to figure out with Quinn Ewers. And I think the conversation now, about he's still a really young guy, like super talented, can be very good, but he's still a really, really young guy. And, the Alabama game does seem like a long way off from in terms of, how well he was playing. Kansas State throttles Baylor. So I loved K-State in this game, and I absolutely loved their chances. Coming off that loss last week, disappointing game, but Chris Kleiman is such a good coach. And I thought this group would be ready to go, ready to play, and they were. Defensively, I thought that was where they had the edge because, look, sure, Baylor's a really good team at running the football, yet generally speaking, yes, and they did it to great success last week. But Kansas State's really strong up front. They knew what was coming their way up front, and they were able to handle it all very, very well. 23 carries for 103 yards. Blake Shapen was 22 of 38 for 203 and 2 INTs. And that's something we talked about on Friday. If you can make Baylor, if you put them in situations they have to throw the football, notice on Baylor's winning streak how they got the job done. They took the ball out of Blake Shapen's hands for a lot of it. They did that last week against Oklahoma. They did it the previous weeks as well. And he is a turnover-prone guy. We saw it once again. That bared fruit in this game. He was the worst of the quarterbacks, which gets to the offensive side. And the one big key for Kansas State, take care of the football. Baylor had forced 10 turnovers in their previous 3 games to get on that winning streak, right? To get where they are. That was not sustainable, especially against a team like Kansas State that has been very good, save last week, in taking care of the football. Martinez goes down with the injury, and then Will Howard comes in. And I have to apologize to Will Howard. He is so clearly and I'm wearing the K-State stuff today, so shout out to Kansas State and the fans. He is clearly a different player than he was, last year, the year before. I know guys get older, but he has taken leaps and bounds. I know they wanted to redshirt him, and I know he's played you can get the game log up here. He's played 3 games, so he could get one more in there, and you could redshirt him. But this is a kid that's really difficult to keep off the field. He's got, let's see, so he had the COVID year was his first year. He played last year and then this year too. So technically speaking, Will Howard, right now, if he stopped playing, would have another 2 years of eligibility. Actually, he'd have 3 years of eligibility because he's got his COVID year, so that year doesn't count. He played last year and they'd redshirt him this year. So he's already been in college for 3. He get an additional 3 years of playing if you add in the redshirt too. I'm not sure he's going to need it, right? I mean, he's got another 2 years, and with the way he looks, he's just so good at making. He's a strong, accurate thrower right now, relatively speaking. For him, he is much more accurate. He is much more confident. That's something that he's mentioned. Look at the game: 13 for 20 against TCU. Okay, a little rough at times. 21 for 37. 59%, not crazy, but 4 touchdowns and nearly 300 yards in that next game. This game, 19 of 27, which is over 70%, 196, 3 INTs, no sacks taken, no INTs. He played a really strong game. He took care of the football, did not give Baylor the opportunities. Their offense was varied, and they were paced in this game in their way to, pasting Baylor 17-3 at the half, 24-3 at the end of the third, and then they got the 31-3 to finish things off. Deuce Vaughn was a casual 25 for 106. Giddens gave you 58 in the score. They ran the ball okay in this game, but the passing attack for them was good, and they were able to keep that ball out of harm's way. 7-3 now in the league, 5-2 in the conference, and after what happened with Baylor going down and Texas going down, Kansas State is going to be a favorite, in my opinion at least. They're going to be a favorite in both of their remaining games against West Virginia and against Kansas at home. And also the one thing, we'll get to West Virginia a little bit here, but if I'm a Kansas State fan, I'm not too worried about what I saw yesterday with West Virginia and Oklahoma, because really what was the key for Oklahoma or the key for West Virginia was using Garrett Green against the bad run defense from OU. Well, that's not the case when it comes to the Kansas State Wildcats. It can be a very, very good run defense, and they forced a quarterback who's not comfortable beating teams yet to do it. This is a top 20 football team. This team, in my opinion, that's, I think, clearly the second best team in the league right now and well on their way to a Big 12 title game appearance. And right now, folks, it's hard to deny that Kansas State and TCU, TCU's already booked it. Kansas State, they're right there on that doorstep. They're so close to clinching that. And I mean, once again, 2 more games left, but with the way they played last night, and look, I don't think whatever happens with Martinez, you have to go with Will Howard. I mean, I know he cannot run the football, but with the way the offense looked with him, you absolutely have to keep that kid in. It's not just a hot hand anymore at this point. He's just playing. He's really confident. Things look good. They run well with Will Howard in the game. So I think you have to roll with him at that point. We had a first time happen in this one. Also, Kansas State over 6.5 wins. That cashed last night, baby. So we're all happy about that. West Virginia, folks. This game was ugly. It was weird. It was back and forth, but West Virginia finally beats Oklahoma 23-20. Casey Legg game-winning field goal. And I'm not going to change my opinion on Neil Brown because of one game. I don't think that's really what we should do here. But they made the right decision in this game by rolling with Garrett Green because. And look, I don't know if that's going to be what you do next week. J.D. Daniels struggled in this game, 7 for 12, 65 interception. But Garrett Green was 12 for 22, 138, a touchdown, but 14 for 119 and 2 scores in the ground. He was the key. They ran for over 200 yards, not like the most amazingly efficient game you've ever seen in your life, but they understood the assignment. Run the rock against Oklahoma, and you're going to be okay. And they did that to the tune of 3.8 yards per carry. So once again, not anything absurd or ridiculous, but Green gave them that extra element and he was able to put them in positions. And West Virginia closed out that game 10-0 in the fourth quarter. So their defense gets the job done as well. And even in the game where OU did not turn the ball over, West Virginia ends up getting the win. And look, their defense did an excellent job getting off the field on third downs in those conditions yesterday, windy and wet. That is the key to do it. 1 for 11 were the Sooners on third down. Fourth down, they're 0 for 2. West Virginia, 7 for 19, not great, but 4 for 5 on fourth down. Just a gutsy, gritty win. I appreciate Neil Brown's team not giving up, did not give in. And they wore down Oklahoma. My stance on him, once again, not really changed. Oklahoma, that defense is a problem. It's pretty simple when you know how to beat a team like that. And their offense on those conditions is going to be a rough day. Eric Gray had an awesome day, though. Over 200 yards, 2 scores for him on the ground. He's an awesome player. He is the highlight right now for Oklahoma. But for West Virginia, man, it feels good. They're still alive in bowl eligibility. It's going to be a difficult task to get there, but they are still alive. I don't think 6-6 should save Neil Brown's job. Maybe Shane Lyons, who makes those calls, believes that. So we will see. Next game, Spencer Sanders rallying Oklahoma State past Iowa State. I've got some serious questions about this. Spencer Sanders, able to force his way into the game. I mean, they said he was available, right? They didn't want to use him, but Mike Gundy said he just plays the flair and it's just different. Like, you watch Oklahoma State play and you're just amazed at how different this team looks when he's in there. Yesterday, they ran the ball 35 times for 57 yards. Horrible. And their offense has been really struggling without Sanders. And even with Sanders in that last game, but he was really injured. He comes in. He is so freaking tough. Goes out there, helps them pull ahead. And they forced 3 turnovers yesterday. For Hunter Decker's 3 interceptions. Their defensive line did a really good job stopping the run. And they forced 2 fumbles. I mean, any day you force 5 turnovers, you should win. Like, this Oklahoma State team, winning by 6 and you force 5 turnovers is not amazing. But for them to stop the bleeding, for them to be heading in such a negative direction, and to have this defensive performance, I think it's a really bad offense, I know, but to have this defensive performance, Mike Gundy said it was their best one they had all season. to have Sanders come back and get them down the field and throw that touchdown. I think it was Jaden Nixon. I think they caught the touchdown there at the end. For them to do it shows some serious character, shows they could stop the bleeding. This is the one game I missed yesterday. I was on Iowa State. I mean, if I had known Spencer Sanders was coming in to be Mo Rivera, to be Edwin Diaz, I would have gone ahead and taken Oklahoma State. But tremendous win for them. They get to 7-3. Iowa State now needs to win their last two games to go bowling, which is very much going to be a challenge. Final game to get to here. Texas Tech back on track for them after winning against Kansas. I said KU probably going to recharge the battery a little bit this week on the road, a little bit of a hangover. I thought that played out in this game. It was a 17-7 lead, but things kind of flipped around there in that second quarter. And so it was a one-score game, but that fourth quarter Texas Tech had turning on the Jets. Tyler Shuck, 20 of 33 for 246, but they were able to run the ball effectively. 4 different guys run for touchdowns, including Shuck, Thompson, Brooks, and Smith. So both quarterbacks get you in the end zone. Thought Jason Bean was fine this game. They had to end up turning to Vasco there towards the end. And Devin Neal had another monster game. But for them, I think it's more of a waiting game. Let's see if we can get let's see if we can get Jalen Daniels back. I'm hoping come back next week, recharge the batteries a bit, and so we can get him back. And then for Texas Tech, 5-5, 3-4 in the conference. You've got at Iowa State and Oklahoma left. They can split those. If they split those, year one, Joey McGuire has his team going bowling. I think they should be. They're a good enough team. And also, they have a chance to go, if they can get themselves over the hump here, let's just say they even win the last 2 games. That's not out of the realm possibility that they win these last 2 games. That'll put them at 7-5, obviously, but they'll be above 500 in the league. The fact that opportunity is there for them, I think in year number 1 for Joey McGuire is very impressive. So about what I expected from from Kansas, just coming off that emotional win last week, and Texas Tech, finally back on track, racking up over 500 yards of offense. That offense, 7.2 yards, per play, racking up first downs, good in the run game, over 5 yards a pop. That obviously was great. The rushing defense to them was not excellent in this game, but still they forced the 2 turnovers. That's what, that they won by 2 scores. That's what they needed. So big win for Tech, back on track, 5-5. I think we should see them bowling. KU, rest up, get ready, because guess who's coming to town? Texas. And then you have on the road to Kansas State. So things not easy for the Jayhawks. They're at 6-6. That goal is there, but they'll welcome in Texas next week. And 3:30 on FS1. I'm pretty fired up for that game. If I'm Kansas, I'm totally, you don't love the loss anytime, but you're hoping you can get Jalen Daniels back. Devin Neal is on a heater right now. They should be in really good shape. So I'm happy with the outcome of this game, because I don't think it, I want to see more Big 12 teams make bowl games. So it's kind of okay for all parties involved. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LO Big 12. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _. Follow the show wherever you podcast and on YouTube as well. Make sure you guys subscribe, please. It means a lot when you do. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.